My name is Teresa Yanaros. My project is Divine Frequency. My family was stationed at RAF Woodbridge during the Rendlesham Forest incident in 1980. This was a world-renowned UFO sighting that spanned across 3 days. And so I was raised in this environment where we just knew that there was more going on than what meets the eye. When I lived in Virginia, I was there during the Seton miracles. I don't know if you've heard about this, but our priest was giving a sermon when all of the statues of Mary began to cry. Now, this didn't happen just one time. It happened quite a few times. He was in Time magazine, and this was what I was around growing up. So this was just what we experienced. And so this element of magic being real was just a part of who I was growing up. I became very passionate about two things: the concept of magic being real and the fact that the truth needed to be uncovered, and it was up to us to do that. So I went into journalism with the intention to help uncover the truth behind the headlines. I got my degree in journalism. I graduated in 2008 from the University of Texas in Arlington, and I went into technical editing and then computer software. At a certain point, I looked around and I thought, you know what? I'm living in a matrix and I want to do something more. So I quit my job, I sold everything I owned, I moved across the country, and this is what I call my Uncle Tom's Cabin experience. I wrote a book called What is Magic, and then I started a YouTube channel called Divine Frequency. The reason I did this was because I wanted to connect with the community that was waking up. And I've been on this ride ever since. Now I'm doing speaking engagements at conferences, and I've really tapped into my life's purpose, which is to inspire and allow people to realize their own potential and to catalyze that in themselves. And so that's why I'm here. The word ascension is so important, and it's like one of those words that it can have so many different meanings. For me, I was raised Catholic, and when you think of the word ascension, you think about the rapture. You think about the book of Revelation from the Bible. And what do you know about ascension in the Bible? Well, you think that Jesus is going to come back and we're all going to rise up and we're going to go to heaven, right? That's what a lot of people think about ascension. But I take a more practical sense of ascension. And I'm not saying that that's not true, but what I believe is so important for us as individuals along this journey is to realize just that. We are souls on a journey. And this path that we're walking is taking us back to source. Every moment we're uncovering what is hidden inside of us. And this connection that we have to source, we're growing that. We have the opportunity to grow that. Now we can turn our backs on that and not grow, and we can stagnate, or we can choose to access what I call disclosure consciousness. Disclosure, the uncovering of what is hidden. And we can lean into this process of personal transformation. So I believe that ascension is happening every single moment, and we have to take an active role in that participation. Because if we want to evolve as souls and evolve as a collective, every single person needs to take that responsibility very seriously and do what they can do to open their minds and lean into the experience and get lost and fall in love with what we have the opportunity to do on this planet. What's interesting about ascension is that we don't really know what it's going to look like. We all have our own opinions or thoughts or whatever that is. And so we can all sit around and we can talk about what that might mean, but and what is that based off of? It might be based off of the Bible. It might be based off of something you've read or watched. But the reality is none of us really know. But I can tell you, if I were to visualize what ascension looks like, I imagine people waking up, people around the world coming into contact with the truth inside themselves, the truth, that capital truth, that connection to God, source, the creator, infinity, whatever this looks like. And we are each other's points of contact. And that is part of the reason why we're all here. It's not about the single person, it's about the collective. It's about us helping each other out. So when I imagine what ascension looks like, I imagine us all being the source creator's hands on earth and being able to be that catalyst, that spark for each other, and then supporting each other through that experience. I do think it's gradual, and I do think that, who knows, maybe something will happen in a second. Maybe there will be a solar flash. Who knows what that's going to look like? But the reality is, whatever that is, whatever that is, we can be prepared by going through this personal transformation every day, which I think is like the most important thing, is taking an active role and not being blindsided. Because from my background and how I was raised, we were raised to be what was called rapture ready. Rapture ready is this concept of being ready at any moment to ascend. If we are being beamed up in light or whatever this looks like, we need to be ready for that to occur. And how can you be ready? What does that look like? It means taking an active role in your growth and transformation. The concept of utopia has been researched from the beginning of time. And we've been developing this concept of utopia as a collective forever. And when I was in college, I have a minor in English literature, and I could not get my hands on enough utopian literature. So I've been thinking about this concept for a long time, but I also want to bounce this back to everyone. We've all been thinking about this for a long time. How? We watch movies. We get lost in places like Harry Potter, or we love Lord of the Rings, or whatever this world looks like. And when I think about our world and how this could look like a utopia, it starts with one word: community. And now we got all of this technology, in the 90s, we got the internet, and here we are, and we are becoming separate, but I think it's a part of the process. We became separate, and there's all this technology that allowed us to gain all of this information. We went through the age of information. This was incredibly important for the collective. We had to go through this. We were able to get access to all the pieces of information that we could find, and now we're shifting. We're shifting into what I call the age of disclosure, the uncovering of what is hidden. And what this looks like now is we're going to collaborate. We're going to connect. We're going to come together, and we're going to realize we have this information. What can we do with this information? And how can we change the world with this information? And what I think this looks like, or what this would look like to me in a perfect world, we would start with small communities that make sense to the community on a small scale, because every community is going to have a different definition of utopia, and we can support those small communities through collaboration together.